Hello, and welcome to Coffee, Cannabis, and Consciousness, ostentatiously known as the C3 Podcast. I am your host, Josh Reno. Alongside me is my co-host, Ian Thompson. How you doing today, Ian?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. And we have a very special guest on with us today, Mr. Marck Bashaw. How you doing, Mark?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. We have a great episode lined up. It is going to be Indigo Coffee Roasters. They are out of Northampton. We're trying their Berkshire blend, and we have a really awesome cannabis lined up for you. You want to tell them what we'll be sampling today, Ian?
Yeah, so I don't think it's technically a local cannabis. So I couldn't help myself when I saw it. I went to Liberty in Springfield yesterday, and they had Garcia handpicked, and I thought they only had this stuff like on the West Coast for whatever reason. So it was the first time I had seen it anywhere. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick it up, and we can try it. And but it's called Limefire Skunk. It's a indica hybrid, and it should be pretty good.
Yeah, and Mark is on today to talk about some of what he does. He is a glassblower in Western Mass, so we're excited to explore that realm and creativity. So thanks again for joining us. And the topic of consciousness today is dreams, which I really thought that was a great pick for a topic, because dreams, we dream every night, even if you don't remember it. It's something that happens all the time.
If you can dream it, you can do it.
Yeah. But we're just going to hop right into the coffee. So we've got it steeped in here in the French press, and we're going to give it a pour.
Name of the coffee one more time.
Oh, yeah. So this is Indigo Coffee Roasters. This is their Berkshire blend.
Berkshire blend.
Yes. And I spoke to one of the owners of Indigo, and she gave me a ton of info on it. She's a very great lady. Lots of insight. So this is the Berkshire blend. It's actually a combination of 3 beans. It's Guatemalan, Ethiopian, and a Venice roast Mexican. So Venice roast is actually just a light roast, like a blonde roast.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's give it a try. Cheers.
All three are Arabica beans?
Yes.
Okay.
So Indigo Coffee Roasters, they don't deal with anything that is not Arabica. It's or Arabica, actually. Ooh. Arabica. And Arabica. Then, so they don't deal with the Robusto beans.
Okay. Very bold taste. It's punches in the front. Punches hard. Very intense for me.
You find it intense?
Yes.
Honestly, I don't. I do not find it as intense as some of the other coffees that we've tried. I think actually maybe the blend really settles all, the intense flavor out, whatever there is. What do you think about it, Mark?
I think it's really nice on the front part. It's almost got some type of fruity, like citrusy taste in the beginning of the sip, and then on the back end, I do agree with Ian. It's got a very bold finish that sticks with you afterwards, but I do get like a little bit of almost like a acidic-y, citrusy vibe.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe being the bold isn't that bad. I think sometimes they pair better with the cannabis.
Right, like you were saying.
Yeah.
The high test.
Yeah.
The high elevation test.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's good. I like it, but it's just it came on a bit strong for me.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys noticed. I'm getting like, as it settles, like a honey flavor, like almost like a honey tea on the throat, very soothing as it goes down.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's very acidic. It doesn't really taste too acidic.
A little bit about Indigo. Founded by Lourdes and Flo. I spoke to Lourdes. Very, very insightful. She took about an hour out of her day to talk to me, which for any business owner is, that's valuable time. So I just want to say I very much appreciate it for taking your time out, Lourdes. And so she told me a little bit about the history of the company. So she did move up here with, her partner, Flo, in 1989 from Philly. And so they started the company when they came up here. So they've been around since 1989. So going strong for, about, almost 30 years.
Yeah.
More than 30 years. So
that's awesome.
It's awesome. I mean, they're doing something right, obviously. And, I just asked them a little bit about what goes into the Berkshire blend. She actually recommended we try it. So that was good. And it turns out it's a blend of 3 different coffees. It's an Ethiopian Oromea coffee, a Guatemalan, and a Mexican. And the Mexican bean is a Venice roast, which is just a light roast, like a blonde roast. And so the blend of them is supposed to create a silky smooth, rich, complex flavor. And I do notice a little bit of a smoky sweetness to it. I think that's probably what you get from blends, right? Because when we tried the Essalon Sumatran, that was a single origin.
Right.
And that I found, right, that the taste was very strong, and it stayed that strong throughout the whole sip. With the blends that we've been trying, it's starting to have a shifting cup profile as you drink it. So I like that. I thought first, the OG, single, origin would be the way to go. But the blends are actually treating us very nicely.
When I was saying the intensity, when I was saying it was intense, the taste was intense before, I think I used the wrong word because you said it earlier. You said it later on that it's complex. Mm-hmm. Complex was a good adjective to describe how it tastes. It's not I don't know. It's tough to really pinpoint it, but it's very complex. That's a good word to describe it.
Now, Mark, with coffee, are you an avid coffee drinker? You do it every day?
Yeah, I drink coffee sometimes 3, maybe 4 times a day.
Yeah, hey, no, I'm the same way, man. I'm down in that Java. Now, do you find it helps you with your glass blowing? Does it help you with focus? Maybe spark creativity at all, or do you notice that? Or
I feel like it helps a lot with motivation, getting through a large, immense amount of work. But if I do drink too much, my hands do get kind of too shaky to do some of the more fine detail stuff that needs to happen. So there's a balance.
Yeah, I hear that.
Right.
Sometimes I hear that because sometimes I have too much caffeine and I'm the same way. I'm just I'm literally buzzing. You get enough caffeine, you're just buzzing. So I get that. Glass blowing, you need as much I feel like that's why I feel like I can do something. I don't really have too much hand dexterity. You need a lot of surgical hands kind of to do some of that stuff. I feel but I could. Yeah. That's another thing, though. I bet you surgeons they probably drink a lot of coffee too.
Surgeons?
Yeah.
I hope not. If their hands get shaky, bro, you're done.
Well, right. But I'm saying, how often do you hear about surgeons doing 20-hour surgeries and stuff like
That's
that?
True,
Think
too.
about that.
That's true.
Imagine doing that without some coffee. Whew. All right, we kind of got off topic.
No, yeah, but just bring it back to Indigo, right? So, an interesting fact, when I was talking to Lourdes, so we've been talking about elevation in coffees, right? And how, we're trying to find the Goldilocks zone, as you had said.
Yeah.
So she had explained to me that more so than the elevation it's grown at, it's the way that it's processed. So remember, we talked about
the
dry,
hand processing, the
washed,
drums.
wet hold. So that adds a little bit because, just of if you leave it in the husk, in the cherry, the bean,
right,
and let it dry, it gains more of that fruit flavor rather than if you, husk it and let it dry, then it's a little bit more of the earthy, ground flavors.
Right.
And then also she explained that the way that it's roasted, whether it's a light roast, dark, you can take any coffee and make it a dark roast. Any bean, make it a dark roast. Right. Any bean, make it a light roast, which I did not know that. So that's interesting to me too, so it's how much flavor do you want to draw out of it? And they have different cup profiles, the same coffee, let's say a single origin bean, you roast it 2 different ways, it's going to taste two totally different ways. And I thought that was fascinating because we're over here thinking, if it's grown on a mountain, it's good. But it's actually just the way that it's processed and roasted that adds to that cup profile. And so we were talking about the roaster, itself, the machine, with Yup. So they actually have a little bit about their roaster. They've named their roaster over at Indigo. So built in Germany in 1951, Rosie the Roaster is an ideal rapid roaster with a 22 kilo capacity. She is gas-fired and designed to indirectly heat the coffee beans. Mixing paddles in the rotating drum keep the beans roasted evenly. She's manually operated, allowing a roast master to make fine adjustments to temperature and airflow in order to tailor each roast to the specific coffee origin. And so another thing with the roasters, I kind of dove deeper into that because in the last one, it was also 1951. Yupp's coffee roaster machine is a 1951
Was
model.
it like some technology that year that kind of like...
Well, so what she had said, she likened it to like a manual versus an automatic car, right? So all of the new roasters, tons of technology, not a lot of control. You know, it's all automated.
Yeah.
With the older ones, you have much more control over how you're roasting it, each step of the process, because there's no extra technology.
But it's just more labor intensive.
It's more labor intensive, but you have more control.
Yeah.
You know, just
I like
so
that.
so I thought that was interesting, and that's why those are sought after, because these high quality roasters, even though they can't produce much more, you know, with like the like a Folgers who just probably pumping it out through automatic machines.
Right.
These small batch machines that only do have a 22 kilo capacity, let's say, you know, there's so much more hands on. Oh, I want to tweak this. I want to tweak this, and they can do all of that. So I found that very fascinating. You know, it's more about the control rather than the newest model.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder, is there anything like that with technology in the glass blowing? Like,
definitely. The first thing that comes to mind would be definitely like a machine called a lathe. You're familiar with like a wood turning lathe?
Yeah, spinning lathe. Yeah.
Well, they have glass blowing lathes that have chucks on both sides, and it's precisely spinning the glass at whatever rotation speed you want. And when you're doing that, you don't have to hold the glass, so you can hold the torch in any spot you want, or if you were using a tool or whatever. So it's more precise than if you were just I guess do it by hand. So it's kind of different, where like a different scenario where what you're talking about is the older technology was better, but the newer technology isn't as precise. It's kind of the opposite, but it does have some similarities.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's interesting. I mean, just as far as like the growth of technology in certain industries is fascinating to me in general, and that I was just curious about that. Another interesting fact about Indigo that I got to give them props for, because it just showed me how determined they are as business owners. So right before the pandemic, they were going to come out with a nitro brew keg. So it was going to be designed to look like a keg, had a tap, all that stuff. And it was going to release just before the pandemic hit. You know, they had it all planned out. Pandemic hits, everything shut down. They switched gears, right? So they didn't trash the idea, because they couldn't market it, they couldn't get it out there. There's no one will buy it really, So what they did is they kept with the nitro brew idea, but they went just from the keg and they canned it, So to me, it was like, I got to commend them for that shift in mentality. The not giving up, not letting anything kind of hold them back, and they still released that product. And so they just came out with it, so it's their nitro cold brew canned coffee from Indigo Coffee Roasters. So guys, if this company worked really hard to get that product out to you, so give it a try, because they put the effort in to try to make it work.
Yeah, I'm still trying to do a cold brew episode sometime soon. At least maybe before the summer's over. We got a kind of a small window here in New England to enjoy stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. I know there's a ton of crazies out there drinking their iced coffees in the winter. Like, I see it all the time. But cold brew, I think we could do one soon, no?
Yeah, cold brew's on the menu,
right,
for sure.
Cool.
For sure.
I feel like we're going to... That'd be a good thing to do, I think.
Yeah, and honestly, as we're drinking the coffee, man, the coffee is going down easy for me.
Good.
Like,
I needed it. I needed to pick me up.
It's really tasty. It's really easy to drink. The drinkability is great. The flavor's nice. I do like the smooth, like I said, that honey feeling of drinking it. Soothing the throat. Great aspect to this Berkshire blend.
For sure, it doesn't dry me out. I don't need like a water right now or anything. I'm good. I'm like not. Sometimes coffees just dry you out a little too much, but
yeah,
this one's good.
Yep,
keeps my mouth. I'm well moisturized in my mouth.
So, all right, guys, that's Indigo Coffee Roasters Berkshire Blend. You can get that at the River Valley Co-op, among
Shout out
other
to
places.
Co-op.
Yeah, shout out Co-op. And, so we're actually going to just be moving on now to Ian's favorite part of the show. Obviously. And that's the cannabis part of the show. And I'm excited, man. You sent me a picture of this the other day.
Oh, these guys do a phenomenal job marketing. Like, just like the jar this shit comes in too. Like, look at that. This shit's like so. They guys got like the magnifying on the bottom too. Like, it's not super magnified, but it's pretty good. Shit, I'm excited too. We're actually gonna smoke this out of a pipe that Mark made and brought for us to session out of right now. So appreciate that, Mark. It looks like a beautiful piece.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So, Mark, you said the term you used to describe this. Now, I call it a bowl, but you said a spoon.
Yeah, so that's a really common term between glass blowers, I think, more often than the customer base, and shop owners, too, head shop owners. And I think the old saying comes from back when glass blowers first started making a ton of them, and they were able to feed their families with the amount of pipes they were making. And, they kind of do look like spoons. So the saying is, spoons feed your family.
I like it. I like that.
Yeah, like a double entendre.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, that's great. That's cool. It was cool to learn. I was like trying to wrap my head. I was like, I wonder what he's bringing. I don't know what a spoon is, but I tried to figure out that it was a bowl. But great airflow through that. That smoked rips really well. Yeah. I got a big flavor taste there, a big taste of flavor there, and so we're lighting up. We're smoking.
Yeah, this is called Limefire Skunk, guys. Garcia handpicked. They do a few strains. I thought it was cool too because I went on the website just to kind of see, just to kind of look more into it, obviously. But it's funny because they pair every strain. They'll pair with like a different Jerry Garcia show, or like a particular song from a particular show. And so I thought it was interesting. I definitely, if I had more time, I would have. And it's cool too. They actually do like playlists for like their specific strains too. Like I don't know. I thought it was a cool thing. They obviously took a lot of time out to do.
Yeah, the look of the bud it's very like dense and crumbly. Just a dense, crumbly bud.
It breaks up super easy.
Yeah, it's very frosty, very Phil Foden.
Very Phil Foden. I like that. Is that a new adjective?
Dude, you know what? We're gonna start the Foden scale.
I like that.
But
yeah, so like this particular strain, it says it pairs well with Run of the Roses, Garcia Volume 2 from the Greek Theater in Berkeley from 1990, and it says End It Stone Me from Pure Jerry from New York City from 1987. And then Shining Star, Garcia Live from Milwaukee in 1991. So I thought that was cool. Its lineage, it's a cross between Fire OG and Lime Soda Skunk. So just a little background on that for the cannabis nerds out there. I think it tastes really good. Limefire Skunk, pretty good name for it. Definitely taste the lime in it for sure.
Yeah. What do you think, Mark? How's it smoking for you?
I think it's wonderful. Yeah, to put it plainly.
Yeah, it's the first, when I took that first hit, I was like taken back at the flavor. I was super surprised how distinct that is, and I'm trying to put my finger on it, but I was like I've tasted this before. Like, where have I tasted this?
So I'm gonna tell you what it tastes like. It tastes like when you garnish a taco with lime and cilantro.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, I do.
Wow.
That's what it tastes like.
It's all coming back to me now. That's wild. That's
like Mexican cantina tacos.
Yep.
They put they got the shredder, they got the lime, and then they put the cilantro on it, and that's what you're smoking, essentially.
Bro, that's a fire description. I honestly, I 100% agree. That's very intense intense flavor like that, and now I'm like got nostalgic for tacos.
You're not gonna, you're
definitely getting that for lunch today.
Yeah.
And it's smooth. Like there's a little bit of avocado on there.
And it's it's just it's a good, earthy taste and lime taste. Good combination. Honestly, though, I'm gonna say it off the bat. I don't think it pairs that well with this coffee. If I can be frank, give it a sip. I don't. Not terrible, but it doesn't. They don't pair as good as some of the others.
Yeah, the lime doesn't tie in with the honey. It's
I mean, I can drink and smoke them together, but it's just I'm not like, wow, these are great together.
One of the reasons I think we're getting such an intense kick of the flavor is because how professionally blown this glass piece is. And I really appreciate you coming on, Mark, and actually even bringing this on because you got an Instagram page I was looking at. What's your Instagram page for people that are listening? Because you got a lot of good work on there you guys should check out. Yeah,
my Instagram is Bashaw _glass. It's Bashaw like my name, BASHAW.
Yeah, we'll be sure we'll tag that underneath too, so you guys listening can just click the link as well. Definitely check that out. Give him a like, follow him. A
lot of great works on there.
Yeah,
I was super impressed because when I looked it up, I was like, oh damn, this guy's fucking legit. Okay,
how would somebody if somebody wants to buy some of your art, how would they be able to reach out to you? Do you have a studio, or is it just everything through online?
I do have a studio space, but it's not really open like a store.
Right.
Really,
it's more just where you work out of.
Space.
Sure.
But my stuff is mostly available right now through customs. If you hit me up on Instagram or something commission, like that,
yeah, okay.
I have a custom.
Word, good to know. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So I just want to kind of dig into your passion here. Because seeing how professionally done the work is, and some of the pieces that you've made, it's obvious that you're deep into it. This is a passion, something that resonates with you in a deep way. So I want to know just how did you initially get into glass blowing, and when did you kind of decide it was something that you wanted to take even further as a profession? Or
so the first time I knew I wanted to do glass blowing was it kind of hit me gradually. It wasn't all of a sudden one day I was like, aha, that's what I want to do. But obviously, it started like any other pipe maker, smoking weed and whatever. You buy a pipe, it gets confiscated by your mom, and then you're forced to go try to find another one. And fortunately, I was already old enough to go and purchase something like that. So it just kind of ended up being where I was purchasing them, breaking them, or getting them confiscated. And then I just got sick of the loop, so I was just like, if I could just make them myself, I wouldn't have to buy them.
Cut out the middleman.
Yeah, I was gonna say, cut out the middleman.
But what I didn't know was it's kind of expensive to start and maintain doing it. So I would be buying an oxygen tank every 2 days and putting it into my tiny little car and driving it from one spot to the oxygen store to my parents' garage is where I started.
Right.
So yeah, as far as artistically, the most prevalent memory for me was walking into my first real head shop where they kept big head pieces. And before any of that, I honestly thought that the only kind of glass that people made was kind of the antique kind of glass that they make with a furnace. It's
right.
Paperweights and little
with the
vases.
flowers, kind of
with
the flowers in it or whatever.
Vases,
yeah.
I, for some reason, I didn't know that these little hand pipes and whatever were the same as the big
right.
artistic pieces and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of high end artists around.
Oh my god.
And
for sure,
their stuff is everywhere, all over Massachusetts. And I started seeing stuff like this in the local stores, and I was just mind blown. When you see a dinosaur made of glass,
yeah,
and you can smoke out of it, and the dinosaur looks like it's stoned too. I mean, that's something that changes you.
Yeah. There really is. Like especially since doing the show and going into different dispensaries, a lot of dispensaries will like display glass pieces from like different local artists, and like I'm like sitting here looking at like the price tags on some of them, and it really is like astronomical. And like I think it's fair though. Like these are just like crazy pieces of art. Some of them are just like I couldn't even fathom how like they made that out of like a piece of glass. Like you're looking at it and it's like some of them are ridiculous. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, they're beautiful. The stigma I think too is like becoming dropped on pieces like that, because I feel like people would discount it as a work of art because it's something you can smoke out of, you know. And it's like, no, like look at this piece of art. Like, this is ridiculous. It's a side note that you can smoke out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be honest though. Like if I spend $3,000-$4,000 on a nice glass piece like that, I can probably tell you I'm not gonna smoke out of it. Like that thing.
Maybe once, right?
Maybe once, right? Exactly.
People make pieces that are like intended to smoke out of, like that are like high functionality that you're supposed to like want to
like it'd
use
be like
it's
like having a Ferrari and not driving it, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So but I feel like, well, here's why I feel like I wouldn't smoke it too. Is like one, it's like especially a big giant piece of art like that. But it's like if I ever drop that thing or something happened to that, I would just like never forgive myself. So like I don't know, maybe out of the air on the side of caution, but.
People are real careful at glass sessions. Yeah. You should see, like, some of the tables I've been at, like, at the classes I've taken. Like, I went to a class out in Oregon, and the table probably had, like, over 100 racks worth of glass on it.
Sheesh.
And it was, like, between 3 people.
Right.
And they're just, like, glass collectors. And the piece that the teacher was making was actually, like, worth $75,000.
Yeah.
And he literally pulled it out of the kiln, let it cool down, filled it with water, used it while it was still on the handle, and then cleaned it out, put it back in there because he needed to test and make sure, because he was putting like crazy like welds on there with huge art sections and everything like that, and he didn't want to spend the time to like make sure. So it's insane to see what people will do with these really high-end pieces.
Yeah, that's incredible. Holy shit.
On the other note of the fact that these pieces actually exist and the price just keeps going up and up and up, it's actually fueled by the cannabis industry. And the people who are selling a lot of cannabis also happen to really like glass.
So they're buying the glass.
Yeah.
One
hand feeds the other.
No doubt.
You know, that's
like
that's a cool little I imagine you have optimism then, you know, like just about like with if it gets legalized basically everywhere, like you could basically have a business model that just takes off, you know, like you're doing all this, you know, before it even really explodes, you know. So it's
definitely this business is highly scalable.
That's sure. Awesome. And so as far as too, like when you're glass blowing, we have talked on previous episodes about like when you're doing something that, you know, gets to the point where it's second nature, like a passion that you've invested time in to the point where it's like second nature, like that you can enter meditative state. Like, do you ever find yourself diving into those like while you're glass blowing, or does it require like just a super intense amount of focus to the point where it's only that thing?
It is actually a balance. If it's something that I've done like 100 times, like what you're saying, I definitely get into like the flow state of things where I'm just going from one step to the other without really like thinking about it too much, and everything is just like, you know, like kind of feeling like, oh, you look at the clock and like 4 hours have gone by and you've just been working on this like thing and you're finished in like half the time that you would normally take. Like that does happen.
Yeah.
But if I'm making something that I've never made before, it is more methodical, where I have to like make sure that every step is hyper focused, and I make sure that every detail is accounted for.
Yeah, man, dude, that like some of your work is wild too. Like like, have you ever gotten burned by doing any of that stuff, or like, there's a danger to it as well, right? Like,
definitely. I mean, I've always heard that cuts are worse than burns, but I've been burned far more severely than I've ever been cut. And by far my worst burn was I was taking a class down in the actually, it was up in New York at the Corning Museum of Glass and in Corning, New York, and it was during a furnace pulling demo, which is like basically a furnace is what cooks the glass, and the teacher was making his own colored glass, and we were pulling it out of the furnace and dipping hollow tubes into the furnace and pulling out gobs of glass and then bringing it over to the torch and using the torch to heat up the glass and shape it and whatever. And when it came to be my turn, there had been like 5 students and the instructor that have already taken a dip, and they gave me the gloves to put on, and they were already like pretty sweaty and hot. And when I went to go take the dip, it started evaporating the steam in my gloves, and it actually like cooked my entire forearm, and it had a huge bubble on the forearm.
Damn.
That took me out for a while.
And that was like the size of the pole?
That was the size of the glove, and the glove was probably
Like up to your full, like
my elbow.
like
Wow.
a 3/4 sleeve, like
Yeah.
yeah. Sheesh.
it's like an extreme sport, dude.
Yeah, but luckily Corning has an excellent medical staff, and they took care of me real quick.
Cool.
Yeah, playing with fire. Sometimes I feel like even when you're careful, like shit's gonna happen. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
You do it enough times, especially like it's like when it's not a hobby and it's a profession, and it's like what you're doing. If you're doing it every day, like you could probably be as careful as you want, but like things, will happen.
Yeah, sometimes I can go weeks without an injury, and then I'll just go and touch a hot rod.
Yeah.
It's on my bench.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
gotta
just
be as
part
careful
of it.
as possible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Shoot.
Nice. So do you like make appearances anywhere? Like, is that something that like do demonstrations?
So I don't do demos per se, but I have made. Unfortunately, I feel like this is so cliche to say in this time, but COVID-19 really has ruined a lot of the appearances that I did make, because I did do things like Extravaganza. I did the Freedom Rally out in
Right.
Boston. Those were 2 of my biggest events, and I just can't do them because they don't run anymore.
Right.
We might be having the Freedom Rally this year, and I'll be stoked if we can do it, because I love to vend at things like that. So if anyone's out there that has a farmer's market or like even a festival or something like that, I'd love to vend at your festival. Hit me up.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's cool. And honestly, that's it's something that just the demonstration itself, or being a vendor, like things like that, like it's like when a kid goes to a baseball game as like a little kid and he sees a player hit a home run, right? Like it's maybe a cliche example, but it's like the idea of inspiration, right? Like seeing somebody else that's passionate about something, and kind of getting them into what you're into, and maybe it becomes their source of relief in life, and it becomes a source of happiness for them, and so that's what it's all fucking about, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I've had so many people tell me that they're like just super passionate about glass blowing, and they come over to me and like they tell me, like, even someone like they tell me they bought a piece for me like a year ago, and then now I see this has actually happened. Like I sold a piece to someone at Hempfest, and now they're a glass blower and they're really good at glass, and I'm like just like so stoked that I could have helped.
Yeah, that's got to be a good feeling. For
Inspire
sure.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, even if they were like stoked on glass before that, and they were just like collecting, and they knew they were going to be a glass blower before that, I still feel like I attributed that a little bit.
That's cool. Yeah. No, drawing from it. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to move on to the next topic of conversation. And Mark, thank you so much for your insight on the glass blowing
Thank you.
industry. And I'm glad you could join us for this discussion, because we were trying to decide what we were going to talk about. And I was like, well, dreams may be the right topic, because it's a very broad topic. Everybody dreams.
Fact.
So,
Everybody dreams.
As far as dreams themselves. So with dreams, there's a lot to be said about them. They come from our subconscious. Some people say that, it's our mind trying to tell us something that we're ignoring. When we dream, I personally feel like the majority of deja vu experiences I've had, whether it's I'm in a room in a situation meeting somebody or I hear a phrase said, I'm like, and I get deja vu. I'm like, I dreamt that. Yeah, I saw that in a dream.
Or this had happened
before.
So
think, and that for me is most of my dreams are, even if they're not consequential premonitions, it's like a premonition.
I see deja vu as like the girl in the red dress in The Matrix. Do you know you ever watch that movie? You know what I'm talking about? It's when it's like.
Of course, I've seen The Matrix.
It's like when Neo.
I might be too stoned to remember.
It's like so they put like one of the guys when he's like showing the Neo the Matrix, and he puts that girl with the red dress, like it distracts him real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's what I think of like deja vu is like this like way the universe is like letting you know this shit's like fucking. This shit's like a fucking.
In the
simulation
yeah.
Some fucking, or it's just it isn't what it seems like. More like you know what I mean. It's not that you I don't know, maybe
what,
but
is it? So you think it's like, so your idea is deja vu is like an alternate reality, like two timelines playing over each other, like some shit like that.
I don't equate it to dreams because like you're awake when it
also,
happens.
it was
every time I've had deja vu, I'm awake. I'm like in the middle of my day, so
right.
That's why I'm like not gonna like I mean. But not to throw us off the dream track.
No.
I think dreams.
Well, so what do you think dreams mean? Like what kind of dreams?
I think different dreams mean different things because like I think like dreaming on a scale of like there's a scale of like basic dreams to like you could be like lucid dreaming or like you know what I mean. Like,
do you lucid dream at all? Like, does that happen to you ever?
I've like flirted with lucid dreaming. It's not something I've like done a ton of or like feel like it's like hard to do and. For the most part, to be honest, I don't remember most of my dreams because of cannabis. I feel like
same, yeah.
When I do, it's very far, and so I don't really remember most of my dreams. But there's times where I take breaks, like every now and again, I'll stop smoking cannabis for a couple of weeks, or here and there, I'll take little breaks. And when I do that, I turn from no dreams to like just like super intense,
the
like,
most vivid dreams of your life,
and super like trippy, weird dreams. They're not like normal dreams.
Mm-hmm.
They're really far out, like super weird.
I gotta agree.
But so I don't know. Well, when I was a kid, I used to dream a lot. I used to, like typical. I remember like I used to have. I don't know if you guys did when I was a kid, any reoccurring nightmares or anything like that. Because I've definitely like I went through like a phase where like when I was a kid where like I'd have like almost like the same terrifying dream. And I could have it for like a week at a time, maybe. Like
so much so that you remember it now today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a couple like that.
Almost like night terrors almost, and it was like different, like you know what I mean. But like stupid shit. Now you look back on it, but I feel like it's probably not that uncommon. Like I'm saying it like, but you know what I mean. I feel like
the random dreams that I remember like. Are from a long time ago, or from when I'm a child, and they're not like stupid dreams. Like they're just weird, stupid dreams. Right. But it's like I do remember,
but they're fantastic enough that like you still remember them. So like I don't know, it's kind of
I think I remember one of the first times I was like lucid dreaming because the first thing that I think everybody tries to do when they're lucid dreaming is fly.
Right,
like absolutely. I was like,
110%.
But then it's like there was this weird like in between as I was starting to come out of sleep that I was like I wanted to fly and I would jump to fly and then it'd be like and then I fell and then I fell into my bed and it was weird. Like I remember that being one of the first times I ever knew I was dreaming.
I remember one of the first times I knew I was lucid dreaming. I was like walking. I was like in a dream and I was like walking on like a frozen pond and like for whatever reason like I fell through. And, like, I sank all the way to the bottom of the pond. And I remember, like, feeling that panic of, like, drowning. You know what I mean? So it was, like, a nightmare at the time. But then I realized that I was dreaming. So I was like, oh, my God, this isn't even real. So, like, and you know what the first thing I did was? Obviously flew out of that water like fucking Superman. You know what I mean? And then, like, that was, like, almost, like, the end of the dream. Like, I had woken up, like, shortly after. Yeah. But it was, like... that is what I mean. Like I'm flirting with like the idea of like lucid dreaming almost, where like it's like I've never like probably taken full control of like how the maximum I could have, but like have been conscious enough to like take control of certain aspects of dreams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The only lucid experience I've had was in situations where I've actually had no control over the dream, but I knew I was dreaming.
Oh, wow.
So it just kept playing, and that, like, something bad might be happening, but I can't really stop it. It's
Right.
like, yeah.
Well,
Interesting.
yeah. With the premonitions, though, I think that like there's actually recorded, history of some of these people who have said they dreamt about certain things that happened. Like Abe Lincoln, he dreamt his assassination.
Like the night before.
He dreamt he was going to be assassinated. I don't know if it was the night before.
Or was it at some
it might
point
have
in his
been.
life?
It could have been. Yeah, but he dreamt he would be assassinated. Mark Twain dreamt his brother died. 9/11 victims, some of them, like they dreamt that a plane was going to crash. And there's actually recorded, confirmed people who had dreams about the sinking of the Titanic. So it's just like things like that. And I'm pretty sure probably like some of the oracles, quote unquote, of like Greek mythology, they probably, leaned on dreams as far as, giving predictions. Or if you even think like pharaohs, they had like visitors who would be like basically, you interpret my dreams. Like I'm going to tell you like,
right.
And there's things like that all throughout history. And so that's why I have a strong feeling of like it's a connection between. So when you're conscious and awake, when you go to sleep, your subconscious is dominant. So it's like piecing together all the information that you're taking in. And, if you think your subconscious is much larger than your consciousness, so it's just to me, it's one of those things where it's piecing all these things together. And our mind is has intense computing power. So it's like formulating a likely or possibility based off all of the information that we have, and sometimes because we're taking in so much information, it's conveyed to us in a very strange way. But that's why I feel like dreams are trying to tell us something, because
Sure.
it's putting together things ahead of what we know when we're awake.
Yeah. You know what else is kind of far out about dreams, and like if we can tie it into like I like when we can tie it into past things we've talked about on the show, and like talking about like collective unconscious and like how we share certain like archetypical things. Like dreams are archetypical. Like there's certain things like that's the reason why dreams can be interpreted is because there's so many dreams that people have had in common and shared experience that like over the years they've been able to break down like psychologically what that could mean. Like. And I know I've probably only had this dream like a couple times, but I know it's a super common dream. But like, how many people out there, or if either of you guys had a dream, all your teeth fell out of your head?
Yes.
Like that is like a super common one, and I've had that happen to me before.
Or like you're naked in front of a situation that you shouldn't be naked.
Or like that's what I mean. Like there's all these different archetypical dreams, and like that's where I feel like they get a lot of dream interpretation from is over years and years of people kind of like discussing having these dreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a psychological aspect to it. I mean, but that's the shared experience of consciousness creeping its way into our subconscious while we dream.
Absolutely.
So it's I don't know. I don't even know if that makes sense to myself. I'm like, whoa.
What do you guys think about like waking dreams? Not like hallucination type, but like daydreams almost. Like you have a thought and it just runs, and like almost like you're inside your own head, like thinking about it, analyzing it. And
yeah,
like,
well, I do that.
The world just kind of slips away, right?
Like a daydream.
Yeah.
I do that sometimes, like as a parent with my son. Like I start to think about like, oh, what if this happens? And I start to worry, right? And it's like all of a sudden, like I like picture and visualize, and I'm totally in this situation where if like this bad thing happened to my son,
like, what would you do?
Like what? Like, yeah, and it's like, whoa, okay, that's not reality. That's not happening right now, and that's totally a real thing, and that because sometimes when you're having like a dream, like a nightmare, it feels so intense and so real. You wake up in like a sweat, a cold sweat.
Yeah.
So that I totally connect that daydreaming like aspect. Because it's such an intense emotion and feeling.
Yeah, because it's still like it's more. I feel like it's more conscious, but it's still subconscious.
Can we talk about how it's trippy? Like, because like animals dream too. Like we dream, like, but like, you know what I mean? I think maybe that's like, you know, but like,
you
think
see
about
your
it.
dog like running.
And that's why I was thinking about it, because
Going
I was
crazy.
actually watching my dog dream last night. He
Yeah.
was like I was hearing, me and my wife were watching TV in the living room, and the dog was sleeping in the bedroom, and we could hear him like whimpering like from down the hall, and like you can kind of see, like you poke your head out, you can see, and he was sitting there and just like full on, just like spazzing out, like he was bugging in his dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like full on having a crazy dream. I was like thinking like it was just kind of like perfect timing, but like obviously dogs aren't like the only animals that dream, but like. And we think of animals as like less intelligent, but like if animals capable of dreaming, like they're capable of entering maybe those same dimensions that we are in those spaces, like maybe not a shared consciousness, but maybe. But like, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like it's
I would say
what
I think that animals probably dream of what they experience during the day, but just in maybe a more enjoyable form, because I don't feel like animals have consciousness yet. So it's like, how can your consciousness and subconscious be separate? So they're just like all one experience.
Right.
So when they're sleeping and when they're dreaming, I just think that,
I'm
you know what I
maybe-
mean?
Yeah, but I'm just, and obviously this is just like, I'm just a stoned theorist, but that's why I'm just saying like maybe the dream space is a space where they experience like an elevated level of consciousness compared to their normal, you know, waking consciousness when they're just your dog hanging out with you.
Right.
And even in then, like, you know, I'd argue the second that you name a dog and you give it an identity, it assumes a conscious, you've given it consciousness at that point. I've given a name to my dog. He's got a birthday. He's got a personality. Like he's got a consciousness because we've helped give it to him in that sense, I think. When you take in like certain animals, I think it's kind of a far out concept to
You've
grasp.
given him a self.
But I've given him a sense of identity and a sense of ego without him even consenting to it. In a trippy way, if you kind of get what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Do you think that is required to dream?
No, but I think it's required on a certain level of having a sense of self, right? Because obviously that's what consciousness is like a sense of like I kind of, right, or not, but like.
So do you think that the more domesticated the animal, the more likely it is?
Right, and I think this is the
type of-
beginning stages of like consciousness and like whatever, like in just the basic forms. Like I think as we evolve with domesticated animals and certain animals, like. You know, think about like talking birds that can talk and you can teach them language too. Like that's like a first step, you know, and they have a name and they have, you know, some loyalty to you, like, cause you know, providing the shelter, feeding these animals, like there's a certain like level of symbiosis and like relationship there. That's like almost, it's like nurturing consciousness to the next stages.
Yeah.
Like I think
Like I want to touch on
stoned.
like what you said about how I want to touch on what
this
you said.
weed is fantastic.
That is great.
Shout out to Jerry.
Yeah, Jared.
This is what Jerry would have wanted.
Yeah. It's fire. But, you know, I want to touch on what you were saying about, like, if your dog was at a higher state of
In dreams.
consciousness or subconsciousness in his dreams, right?
Sure.
Like, do you think that, like, if like, before, like, what we consider human consciousness, right?
Right.
If, like, these animals, like, they heed their dreams, right? Like, let's say they have dreams about something, you know, like an idea, you know, like something like, oh, maybe like instead of like fetching a ball, I'm going to fetch a stick tomorrow. Like, you know, like, and they're like, oh, now I want to fetch it, you know, but what if that's like they start to progress like with the
Like
ideas?
they're throwing the ball and the humans going and chasing it?
Yeah, like what if they see some shit like that in their dream, and then there's like, yeah, that's like what.
That's the goal. We're going for that. Unlimited belly rubs.
But the idea of changing, like progressing.
Yeah, no
you
doubt.
know, so that's like why in our dreams, like we should heed some of the shit we see. You know, we should.
Oh, I don't think we should just totally throw it off as like
Yeah.
bullshit. Like I think there's like some dreams are definitely important, more important than others, obviously. But I think we should just evaluate them on their own basis and merit. And you know, certain dreams not take too serious, and certain ones maybe you know you just always kind of look at it with a fresh perspective. I don't know.
Yeah. You ever astral project at all when you dream?
Not in like the not really.
No.
No, more like lucid dreaming versus like like I said, I flirted with like lucid dreaming, not so much like astral projection. The only closest thing to like astral projection would have been like something like induced by psychedelics. Like that's probably the closest.
Or like the out of body experience.
Like
I think the closest would probably be that, or like a deep meditative state or something like that.
Yeah.
Even in meditation, like I've gotten close, not all the way, like on, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I've in some of my experiences, I've been like in my room, like looking at my body, but like I can't leave my room. Like I get too freaked out to like leave my body alone. That sounds kind of crazy, but like it's a weird, like I get up to go to the bathroom or something, right? Like, well, not really that. It's like I just get up to, like I feel like I have to do something, and I'll turn and I start to walk away from my bed, and then when I turn around, my body is right there.
Yeah.
And so it's like but then once I realize that, I cannot like leave. It just freaks me out that I would leave my body there. And so I go back and I like.
It's tough to separate that connection from self, or it's like that stepping outside. It's like you're like killing your own ego. You have to be willing to kill your own ego to like step outside your body sometimes, like that. Like,
I just hate the idea of like being uninhabited. I don't know if that makes sense.
Who's gonna take care of you if you're not there?
I know it's weird. Right? And I don't know if anybody's had that, like if that's a weird experience or whatever. But like, it's every so often.
You got to think too. That shit probably comes with some risks. Like, who knows who comes back to your body? Is it going to be you or some space demon? Fuck.
Yeah,
bro, that's
right.
why you got to stay there.
Dude, that's why I sage the house. Got to sage the house, bro.
When Jeff Bezos comes back, you don't know what he's bringing.
Yeah, seriously.
Dude, low key, honestly, if you had $1 billion and you're trying to leave the fucking planet, what should that tell the rest of us? Like,
what's here that you don't?
Yeah,
want to be
the
around?
planet's fucked, bro. That's for another podcast for sure, though. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Heed your dreams. Like maybe keep a dream journal if you're so inclined. If
That's
you don't,
what they say. They say the best way to recollect dreams is to keep like a notepad by your bed and like write it down as soon as you wake up, because that's when it's like the freshest. Like you're gonna forget it like more and more every second you're awake, and then you're gonna look back and be like, because this happened to me before. I'm like, man, I had a really cool dream last night. I have no idea what it was about. You know what I mean? It happens.
I had a dream last night, and all I can remember is I was hanging out with like elves in Rivendell. Like
that's not a bad dream.
Yeah, no, it was
loader.
Really cool.
Yeah, and I tried to remember. I got a good night's sleep purposely because I wanted to have a dream, and that's the only thing I remember is like sitting at a table with elves in Rivendell.
Shit.
And now I'm here with you guys,
pretty similar.
enjoying some coffee and cannabis. Fuck it, dude. That's premonition.
Premonition, self-fulfilling prophecy.
I like that I live in Rivendell. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Shout out Rivendell.
Dude, shout out Rivendell.
Yeah.
Dude, that place is dope. You ever been there?
That's my boy Legolas.
Yeah, dude. Well, actually, Legolas is never mind. I'm not going to get into the legacy of the different elves. But he is a wood elf, just so you know. He doesn't live in Rivendell.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings lore is not my forte.
You gotta imagine how crazy Tolkien's dreams were.
Yeah, honestly,
Tolkien probably had some crazy dreams.
You're right.
Yeah,
he was probably taking in so much.
He was the first person to go to Rivendell.
Bro, that's another thing.
You know what I mean?
The creativity that dreams can bring. Sure, I bet you, like artists all the time. Like, have you ever? That's a good question. Have you ever had a dream about doing
a piece, like
a piece? And like,
yeah, I have. Yep, I've dreamed pieces before. Sometimes you dream the piece and then you work it out the next day, and you're like, that thing won't even smoke.
True.
Right. It's an anomaly. It won't work.
A geometric impossibility.
Yeah.
A geometric paradox. And you're in your dream. You're like, that looks awesome. You're like trying to come out, and it's like, oh shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, guys. That was a good little chat.
Good little
on
chat,
dreams.
man. I had fun. Thanks
Yeah,
for coming
fun.
on today, Mark, man.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Really, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I had
man.
a great time as well.
We're welcome back anytime, man.
Yeah, and this was Indigo was good, man. The Indigo coffee, Berkshire blend.
Garcia handpicked.
Both respectively awesome. Wouldn't pair together, but both respectively awesome. And Mark, again, just what's the Instagram we can follow you at?
Yeah, my Instagram is @Bashaw_glass.
Nice. And follow us at Podcast C3 Guys on Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And we'll see you next week.
Ciao.